So,
Okay.
with that being said, we're going to kind of get ready to dive into our topic for the day, or for this episode. I keep saying today, but for this episode, and with it being like the Christmas series and like the Christmas time, like one of the words that gets thrown around a lot during this time is like the word joy, and how this should be like a season of joy, and maybe our joy is even more so like during the Christmas season, and but sometimes like that word joy can get like mixed up and maybe have like a different connotation than what like actually like we're trying to mean it, and maybe even like for some people like this is not like a very joyful season. So we're actually going to be talking today about like what is the difference between like actually like having joy during like this Christmas season, and really just even having like maybe like this toxic view of like positivity, and just trying to make things seem so positive that yes, it looks like we have joy, but deep down like we don't have a lot of joy like in our hearts. So how can we really truly have joy during this Christmas season and not just fake it?
Yeah. That's a good question.
So I'm super excited about this.
Yeah.
It's gonna be good. So I think you're starting. I think you're kicking us off.
Yeah.
with the first kind of question in this. Yeah.
I think it'd be really good to kind of differentiate between the two. Like, what's the difference between like when we think of joy or like toxic positivity or whatever? What's the difference there? So that I think if we frame that before we get started, I think that'd be helpful.
Yeah.
To me, the difference between toxic positivity and joy is toxic positivity, I think, refuses to acknowledge pain. Does that make sense? Joy, I believe, is completely possible in spite of pain or through pain.
Yeah.
But toxic positivity just takes any instinct or any inkling of pain, whether that be emotional or physical, and just shoves it to the side and pretends that it doesn't exist. And like forces like, it's like where you just say things like, it's fine, like it's gonna, like it's great, like there might be pain, but I'm good, like some days you're not good. Some days you did not get out of bed because you had debilitating pain.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
So to me, that's the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd even kind of add to that and think about how like sometimes we make things like fake fine.
Right.
Especially like during the Christmas season, like, like, hey, like we think it has to be perfect. So yeah, we're going to take whatever pain or suffering that we're going through and just kind of like shove it down and say, no, like again, like everything's fine. And then, but like, really, again, like in reality, it's not fine. Yeah. But to not put a damper on the season or maybe or to be like a Debbie Downer to other people, we say, okay, no, like I'm fine. Like I'm just going to play this off and act like everything's fine, even though it's all fake.
So I think that's really good. That's a really good point.
Yeah.
But when we think of the ways that faith interacts with like this toxic positivity or whatever, how do you think that how does this relate to like faith and church and like being part of a community and stuff like that and being a Christian? Yeah. Like how does this toxic positivity relate to being joyful, or what's the correlation there?
Yeah. Do you want
go for it?
I feel like I'm talking first all the time.
You're good. That's fine.
Okay, my bad. I think a huge piece of how faith interacts with it is acknowledging that Jesus is okay with our pain. Like, I think there's a difference between choosing to acknowledge the good as well as recognizing the bad in your life. Like, I think of the passage in Romans where it says like God can make good come from everything. That verse does not say everything will always be good. It says that even if there's bad, good can come from it. But I think you can't even get to that place if you're refusing to acknowledge that you're really unhappy with where you're at or with what is happening, if that makes sense. And so I think oftentimes, I think this is really, in my head, it's tied to the ability to lament, which, to be frank, I think as pastors, we have kind of failed at helping people understand what it means to lament, because lament acknowledges the pain, acknowledges the suffering, but still chooses to praise God in the midst of it, which is just hugely important. And so I think that's the difference between like just only trying to make your brain think about the positive, which is biblical, but like also it's also biblical to acknowledge pain and to sit with that pain and to feel that pain. Both, all of those things are Christ-like, except for not acknowledging your pain. Like, have you read Psalms?
David's pretty blunt.
Pretty blunt, yeah.
He's a very emotional guy.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
So, you know, like,
dang.
Yeah.
Well, I think one other thing that's really difficult when we have somebody that comes in is like, or somebody that we're doing life with, or even us, when we go into a situation and we're like, oh, everything's great, and it's not. It's like, usually we can see it anyways. Like anybody with the ability to kind of know you or like understand how personalities work, it's like we know you're not all right. And so I think it's hard to try to go through pain or to deal with things. Well, it's impossible to do it if you're going to completely deny that it's taking place. And so to go through pain or through hardships in a community of people, admit that we're not perfect, which means you're going to have to be vulnerable. There's a part of us that gets exposed with vulnerability, but showing like, man, I really don't have this all figured out. I'm really not doing that great right now. And to be able to bring somebody else into that with us is really good. And so I think there's an opportunity for growth in trials through tribulation, the old word of like hardships. And then you bring somebody into that. There's the healing takes place on the other side of it, but denying that it's taking place and stuffing it, it creates a lot of other issues within our lives.
Yeah. I think even for me too, like I think about like how joy is like a fruit of the Spirit, and like you can't have joy like if you don't have like God in your life. Just to be like completely honest with us, and even like just kind of thinking that through how. Like I think what allows us to maybe even begin to have true joy is knowing that like God is with us like constantly. And like whether life truly is good and things are going well, like God is with us and we can celebrate that and enjoy that. But if life is tough and life sucks, like you can still like admit that God's with you. And it's honestly like having that having that constant joy, because you know that God is constantly with you. Like even like in the midst of it. So it's almost like it's like a deeper rooted like fruit, and rather than just like a little, hey, I'm just going to kind of fake it until I make it style of fruit. That's a really great end to that sentence.
Oh man.